All right, Zechariah 12:10. Let's do this. No, I'm not really up to doing these videos now, and I'm just going to do a very basic form. But if you love God, listen to what I'm saying, go dig in, do more research, and see where it leads you. I know that if you're listening to this video, you really want to serve the God of Israel. So now it's time to actually examine the claims of Christianity and see how it matches up with the Hebrew Scriptures. So Zechariah 12:10, this is a verse that is very frequently common to Jewish people, especially now during this time. They say, oh, now you're going to look to him who you pierced. And of course, they're referring to Jesus. Now, they're going according to their Christian translations. But the question is what happens when we actually get back into the Hebrew Bible? But before we go there, I want to point out that this is not just a prophecy that is popular among modern-day Christians. The writer of the book of John really loved this prophecy, and in fact, he quoted it. He also applied it to Jesus. But let's see exactly how he applied it to see if it matches the modern-day Christian claims that what is going to happen is that at a certain time in history, there's going to be the Jewish people are going to look toward Jesus because they pierced him. That's the Christian claim that we hear nowadays. How does John use it? Well, if we flip over to John chapter 19, verses 34 to 37, we see something really interesting. Let me read it to you. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. And he that saw it bare record, and his record is true. And he knoweth that he saith true, that ye might believe. For these things were done, that the scripture should be fulfilled. A bone of him shall not be broken. And again another scripture saith, they shall look upon him whom they have pierced. What's going on here? According to John, prophecy was fulfilled when the Roman soldiers completed a post-mortem inspection of Jesus, and they pierced his side, and out came blood and water. It has nothing to do with the Jews. So now the question is, whoa, so if you're going according to the common day Christian understanding that this prophecy means the Jews who crucified Jesus will look to him in the end of days, then that means that you're rejecting the New Testament. You can't have it both ways, all right? That's the bombshell. Now, let's go and see what this prophecy actually has to say. The most important thing is to read everything in context. Zechariah chapter 12 is speaking about a battle, a war. It's not speaking about a punishment, a execution, a crucifixion. It's speaking about a war scene. Verse 9 tells us, it shall be on the day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come upon Jerusalem. And it speaks about how, all of these nations are coming to make a siege on Jerusalem. And on that day, what is going to happen? V'habitu elai, they're going to look to me. That's the correct translation. However, if you go back to John had actually taken this verse and he changed it. He said they shall look upon him. And that's also the common modern day Christian translation that you get, even though you get the application different from John. I hope that wasn't too complicated. Number one, John applies this to the Roman soldiers crucifying Jesus. Number two, he changed the pronoun from look to me to look to him. Number three, the modern day Christian use of this passage is to say it applies to the Jewish people who crucified Jesus, and they take it completely out of context from John. So you literally have layer upon layer of taking things out of context. Now we're going and we're looking at what the Hebrew Scriptures actually have to say, and it speaks nothing of a crucifixion. It speaks only about a battle that is taking place. And it actually says they will look to me, meaning the Jewish people are going to look to God because of those whom are thrust through. And then it says, and they shall mourn over him as one mourns over an only son. Okay, context here. There is going to be either somebody or somebodies who die, and it's going to cause an intense mourning among the Jewish people, and it's going to cause the Jewish people to look where? To look to God. They're going to turn back to God en masse, as we have seen at this current stage in time. To increase this context, it gives us two examples. This is the mourning on that day is going to be like the mourning at Hadadrimon and at Megiddo. And what does that mean? So it refers back to two different instances in which King Ahab and King Josiah were both killed. Now, King Josiah was an incredibly righteous person. The people loved him very, very, very much, and the mourning was very intense. King Ahab was not a very righteous person, but he did one wonderful thing before his death. After he was shot in battle, he didn't remove himself from the battlefield. He had himself propped up inside of his chariot so that the entire nation could see him, and he didn't want to demoralize a nation, so he encouraged them. So because of that, because he gave them strength in their time, there was an intense mourning over him as well. So this is speaking about a mourning over somebody or somebodies who die in battle. So this is a really important point that we need to know. It does not go back. It doesn't refer to Jesus. It doesn't refer to anybody being crucified. Context is everything. And again, the Christian Bibles have taken this layer upon layer upon layer out of context. It's a very sad situation. If you're a person who loves God, and I believe you are, then you really have to go back. You have to examine all of these so-called prophecies. You have to examine everything. And you have to truly figure out how to serve the God of Israel, because time is ticking, people. Time is ticking. And you want to know that you attached yourself to the God of Israel in the right way, not through some man-made religion, not through some lies. It's very, very, very painful for a Jewish person to look out and to see people engaged in idolatry, to see people worshiping a man-god. I mean, if there was anything inside the Hebrew scriptures that said we are supposed to be worshiping a man-god, we'd be there, we'd be doing it, but we don't, because the Hebrew scriptures tell us not to. In fact, God told us multiple times he's not a man. If there was anything that we have to believe in a Messiah in order to be saved, we would be believing it. But instead, the Hebrew scriptures tell us the opposite. They tell us that when the Messiah comes, the whole world is going to know it. You don't have to believe it. You're going to see it with your own eyes. Nations are going to pound their weapons of war into agriculture tools. They're going to plant food for people. He's going to speak peace to the nations. There's going to be a worldwide knowledge of God. There's going to be amazing, beautiful times where everybody's going to be inspired. Everybody's going to be connected. Nobody's going to be teaching his neighbor anymore, because we're all going to be aware of God. We're not living in those times. The Messiah has not yet come. There's nothing in the Hebrew scriptures except for things that are taken out of context or ambiguous passages that are interpreted in the wrong ways that would imply that Christianity has a truthful message. So people, if you truly love the God of Israel, what I recommend is binge watch Rabbi Tovia Singer on YouTube. Your life is going to be changed. You really want to make sure that you have the right ticket in hand. Align yourself with the Jewish people. Align yourself with the God of Israel. And again, you don't have to be Jewish to be righteous, but you cannot be engaged in idolatry. You can be doing good things and wonderful things, but the God of Israel wants you back. In fact, the 49th chapter of Isaiah tells us that the Jewish people were tasked with being an Or LaGoyim, a light to the nations, that we're supposed to go out and we're supposed to bring everybody back in servitude to him. He says it's not just enough that you should bring back the Jewish people who went astray. He's talking to the righteous remnant. He says, I want the entire world back. He said, I want my salvation to extend to the ends of the earth. But we shouldn't get distracted. We shouldn't worship a man god. And it does say that at the end of days, idolatry is going to be cleaned out of the earth. It's going to be gone. And you want to make sure that you're on the right side. You don't want to be having the wrong ticket at that point in time. One more point to think about. In Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23, it says that in the end of days, 10 people from every nation are going to grab onto the garment of a Jew. They're going to say, take me with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Now, there are some Christians who will interpret this to mean as Jesus. They're going to grab a hold of Jesus. They're going to say, take me with you, for God is with you. But here's the thing that many Christians don't know, because you're reading in the English translations, the word is imachem. Imachem means you in the plural. So they're going to say, take me with you, the Jewish people, because we've heard that God is with you, the Jewish people. So my non-Jewish friends, we are inviting you, come along with us, come truly serve the God of Israel, but you have to know who he is and you have to know who he's not. Dig deep. I'm wishing you a lot of heavenly blessings, that you should truly find the God of Israel. You should attach yourself to him correctly and in the appropriate manner, and you should also merit the redemption. Have a wonderful weekend. Let's hear good news. Let's hear wonderful tidings. Let's see the true Messiah quickly make his appearance.